Hey everybody, hey, happy Tuesday. This is Camille E. Gaines, the founder and CEO of Rig on Wheels and the host of the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT, your first and only truck driver recruitment show. And of course, we have our favorite VP of Missoula Valley, and that is Robert Pearson. Right, Robert?
Absolutely.
You
Good to
our
be.
favorite?
I've been claiming it for years, even before I worked for MVT. So
You manifested it, right?
I made it so.
Yes, definitely. So we are here and we give you your trucking insights, the best news, even if the news doesn't think it's the best. Your hot jobs, trucking news. We talked about that already. The trucking tips and recruitment tips. So let's go ahead and make history together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty to talk about this week.
Yeah, it is. I'm still not a millionaire, so I don't know. Well, you know what? I hear congratulations in order.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. What Ryder said.
Yeah, we, for the fifth year in a row, are the Dry Van Carrier of the Year for Ryder, which is extremely competitive. They work with hundreds of carriers. But fifth year in a row, we got to thank our drivers for that. We have a lot of great drivers that make that possible. But fifth year running, we continue to get that award from Ryder, as well as a number of other carriers that will be placing their trust in us with upcoming bids that we've done related to those type of accomplishments.
And having those accomplishments, definitely, I know shippers and they look at that because that means that you're on time, you have great customer service inside, but not more importantly, but because we talk to drivers and talking about drivers, but the frontline people are the drivers, the professional drivers. So that means the drivers are going there and definitely being professional.
Oh, they are. I will tell anybody what separates MVT from any other carriers, our fleet of drivers. We have approximately 1,900 drivers with MVT, and I'd put that fleet up against almost any other fleets of a similar size.
Yeah, so to be on the top 100 list is huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yeah, and that's true because Transport Topics released there for the 2024 for-hire carrier list as far as a lot of new players on there. A lot of acquisitions have taken place. But this year, MVT sits at the rank of 73. So we're excited to see that on the Transport Topic Top 100 that got released this past week.
I love it. I'm loving all of that. So let's go ahead and talk about diesel. Do we got something good or no?
Yeah, well, it went up again. It went up 4 cents. We're now sitting at 381 on the national level there. Kind of disappointed to see it go up, but we were kind of expecting as we go into the summer months that at some point it would. So in many respects, I think we're thankful that it didn't go up higher than that. The big thing right now is this week has been somewhat soft, and we also can look at the freight rates of what the freight rates have done out there. Total load volume last week was up 2.5%. Dry van was up 5 cents, now sitting at 203. Flatbed took a hit, and then reefer's up 9 cents, sitting at 222. The dry van side was nice at a 5-to-1 ratio of loads to trucks.
Yeah.
That got us excited. This week, I can tell you, looking at the load boards, and we'll wait for the official stats to come out next Tuesday, but this week is soft. The spot market rates, if you look at Get Loaded or a DAC or a DAT or any of the other sources like Internet Truck Stop, the broker rates this week have fallen off of a cliff, but that's more likely related to July 4th as people kind of prepared for it, which is most likely why we saw the surge last week. So we'll watch that closely because I don't think this week it's going to be the tail of the tape. I think 2 Tuesdays from now when we talk about it, we'll get a really good inclination of what the summer months are going to look like.
Yeah, holidays always are just, kind of like a spin of the draw. So I'm sure that's not the saying, but
Ideally, in the trucking industry, we love when a holiday falls on a Saturday or Sunday. That is ideal for
Yeah.
us. Unfortunately, I didn't make up the 12-month calendar, so maybe the Mayans would have had better shipping dates.
Yeah, we're gonna do that next year.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
It's an idea for the Rig on Wheels calendar.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna do our own calendar.
Absolutely.
Literally, we can do what we want. We're in Houston. That's why you should move to Houston. In Houston, we make up our own rules. We can just do what we want to do here.
I will agree with you until I walk out the door and feel the humidity that we'll have here. Up until that point, I'll probably change my mind once we get downstairs.
Yeah, it is pretty bad here. It's pretty bad. But you know what? What other news do you have? Anything good? Like any other than MVT? That is the best news of the week.
You know what? I feel bad for saying this. We had the presidential debate last week. I'm waiting for it to get over, so I got excited because it's one step closer to being over.
Yeah, I'm ready because that'll let us know which way we're going, so we know the businesses will know what they're doing. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, and in all honesty, if you look at presidential election years, it makes for choppy freight environments here. I want to get it over with. I'm excited about 2025, but we're also seeing indications right now at the end of 2024 that it's at least going to pick up. We're excited by that. We have a number of exciting opportunities that I think within the next 2 weeks we'll be able to talk about on this show that should get people excited here, including a couple of dedicated opportunities that we'll be offering to drivers.
I just get so happy. I love this show.
There's certain words that are magic.
Yeah, I just love this show because Rig on Wheels gets to hear it before anyone else.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Them and Raven, they just bitten at the chomping at the bits.
Well, the people watching, they also get it.
Oh yeah. It's not just about us. It's not just about us. But what you got planned for the 4th?
I'll be visiting my family that's out of town as we're currently in a move right now. So I appreciate the fact that we'll see fireworks in Oklahoma. With that said, I'm ready to get the holiday over with, and I feel bad being Scrooge, Uncle Sam version of Bah Humbug. But June was a nice month for most of our industry. May was tough because you have 3 different holidays in that time frame. If we can get past the 4th, I don't think we have a major holiday coming up until Labor Day, and we have a lot of drivers that could use 6 steady weeks of high pay.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing that is good for me when it comes, the 4th of July is my oldest son's birthday. Yeah. So that is a celebration for me. But a celebration for him too.
Yes, yeah, he's included.
Yeah. But it is an opportunity just to get caught up on work. That's what I think about. It's really an opportunity for that. So I want you all to tell us too, what is your plans for the holiday? I hope it's just a bunch of safe things to do. But let's go ahead and go to our first commercial. So what I wanted to talk about this segment was having a safe holiday.
Yeah.
Because what happens so often as recruiters, third-party recruiters, and I'm pretty sure Josue will say this, and you being a VP, we dread holidays coming, and this sort of thing, and Nemmer is dreading it because when Monday comes in orientation, the amount of drivers that can't pass the drug tests is going to be horrific because they had an unsafe holiday.
Yeah, I am really curious with the amount of drivers that have been taken out due to the clearinghouse, if that trend continues. But it only takes one time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you didn't have an issue 10 years ago. We sometimes make poor decisions when we get out of our comfort zone. We start celebrating a little bit here. And the consequences obviously are important, that there could be a fatality on the road and a number of other things. But one of the things I always advise a driver on is don't have alcohol in your system. If you're going to drink, do it off duty, do it outside of a time that your body can metabolize the alcohol before you even think of getting in a truck. But the big thing here is most orientations start with the drug test. It's a drug test and road test right off the bat. They're trying to get the drug test results before you complete orientation. If you drink during the 4th of July, make sure that you have enough time between when you drink and the time you show up to orientation, because the consequences of the clearinghouse have changed everything. And it's not the worst case scenario. Like I said, a fatality is much worse. But on the flip side, if you show up to an orientation and alcohol is in your system, you will fail the drug test. And unlike previous times in our industry where theoretically you could find your way onto another carrier, it'll have much longer lasting consequences to your overall ability to make a living.
Yeah, that yes. And I do want to say, I do agree with you. We don't see as many drivers dropping dirty or coming with a positive drug test, because it means the same thing, a positive drug test anymore like we used to.
Yeah.
So when I hear from Marcus or Nemmer or one of the other recruiters saying, "Oh, somebody failed a drug test," and I'm like, they still doing that? That's my first. And I'm like, well, before a few years back, it was you do hear it. It was kind of normal, but now it's not. It's more few far between. But the holidays do scare me with that.
It does. One of the things that's a little more challenging for drivers now when it comes to the drug test is drug testing clinics have a lot of liability. So it's a major process and procedure. It used to be that when a driver would go to orientation and their drug test still wasn't back and we were waiting a couple extra days, the general assumption was, oh, this person might be dirty.
Right.
You had to be careful as a recruiter because that's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case.
Drug testing clearinghouses are based on procedure. It's a lot of times while they'll retest because they have major liability involved in getting it right, both from the carrier as well as the individual. That if the individual gets a false positive, they have legal recourse. So the challenge there is what happens now more than ever is about 3 to 4 drivers a week will get to the conclusion of orientation and that drug test isn't back yet. Now, it may only take an extra 6 hours, or in a couple cases, it may take a whole week. We hate it for the driver. We've looked at alternatives, and there's a major staffing issue at most of these places that do drug testing right now. They've never really became up to staff after COVID. And so that plays a role in it. And it's one of the things as a driver to be mindful of is it's the number one reason you will get through orientation and not be hired on immediately. It's generally relating to that process.
The drug test being delayed. And a lot of times when you have major issues, it's major issues across the board. It's not just at one carrier, it's across the board. So I do want to say that to the drivers, it's across the board. So when we see it at one carrier, it's across the board. So don't get mad at MVT or something like that. Something else too, because we were talking about drinking and what goes with it. Something else that's dangerous is drinking and driving. So make sure that you have a responsible adult to drive you. I don't care if you're only having 2 drinks. Do know when you have a CDL, what they consider to be a DUI or your limit is lower than somebody like Pearson and I, because we do not hold a CDL, because you're considered a professional driver. So it's totally different. So that's something else. I know you know that already, but I'm here to just sing the gospel as a reminder. kind of like the person or the nagging mom or wife, whatever you want me to be. So that, and even if you get in your car, don't have the keys in your hand if you pass out or go to sleep in the driver's seat. The keys cannot be in your hand. Some people don't know that, but that will give you a DUI as well. Anything else you can think of, Pierce?
Be cognizant of the four-wheelers on the road, even if you do everything right, even if you don't even drink. Be cognizant around the holidays, and we always should be diligent about this. But with that said, you don't know what some of the four-wheelers on the road are going to be doing around you. Practice defensive driving. It's what the Smith system is based on. Practice defensive driving on the road. What if the four-wheeler decided to go across 3 lanes of traffic to get off the off-ramp real quick? What if this person can't maintain their lane? How are you going to react in those situations? It becomes very important, especially as we look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week as you're driving, to be diligent and keep yourself safe out there on the road. Even if you're not at fault for the accident, again, life happens. You can get injured just because of somebody else's dumb decisions.
Yeah. And something else, Pearson wants to remind you of stuff about trucking, and I'm here to act as your mom or your old lady. So I want to talk about something else. If you're out at a family member's house or you're at a party or anything and you sit your drink down, I don't care if it's an orange juice or something like that, don't drink it. Okay, we get so many drivers in my past tenure, over 15 years, where it's their drink was spiked, and sometimes yes, it was intentionally, but it was more of the person wasn't thinking that you were a truck driver. It was just, oh, everybody was having a good time.
I can remember, and it was a great experience in my life. Early in my dating life, I was with a girl. We were going out to eat. I was excited to go on this date. And I remember she got a water, and she went to the restroom, and she came back, and she ordered another water. Now, at first, I was a little thrown by that because in the date situation, there is a different standard here. My mindset would not have been thinking about, hey, I need to know what I'm drinking.
Right.
Now, she was great. She had an open dialogue with me about, hey, it's nothing against you. It's just a precautionary thing. But part of it's that mindset of when you're out and about, when you don't know your whereabouts or your surrounding. And it's not always of worried about getting roofied. It's sometimes being worried about, you know what? Someone may be trying to rob me. Somebody may have switched drinks with me and switched cups with me. Unless you can account for what all 48 other people at the bar are doing, which you most likely cannot, or restaurant, generally speaking, it's taking those precautionary steps and controlling your environment as much as you can that will help you in the long run.
I have not heard that term roofied in a long time.
That's probably a positive because that's not a good reference.
Roofied. I am going to go home and tell my college age kids roofied.
It's a valuable lesson, and as I have kids that will soon be approaching your kids' age, those are life lessons that sometimes we take for granted, but also when we have kids that start going into adulthood, become important again.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder what they call it now. I mean, I go through the whole explanation. I guess I don't call it a term. I might say spiked, but that's probably an old term now too. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, and I'm getting sad.
Yeah, they call it. They probably call it. I'm gonna ask Patrice Camille. What do you all call it? But yeah. So let's go ahead, go to commercial. When we come back, we're gonna talk about our hot jobs because Pearson always has some hot jobs for us, and then I always try to get him to tell us a little bit more. All right, we'll be right back. 2 and 2. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. We're up here trying to find out what slang terms are. I am definitely gonna call my daughter and find out. We're gonna figure this whole thing out. But let's go ahead and ask Vanna or what's Jeopardy? What's the Jeopardy guy's
It used to
name?
be Alex Trebek.
It used to be Alex Trebek though.
It's Ken Jennings now. Ken Jennings.
Oh, the guy that won like 60
Yes.
plus weekdays in a row.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we learn something new every week here on the Rig on Wheels podcast.
Look at there. Show. Rig on Wheels show. Remember? Show.
Well, our special guest next week will be Ken Jennings. I'll get with my booking agent and we'll make that happen.
Look at there. Look at there, Kayla. Look at there. Okay, so we are going to Division 210.
Yes. So Division 210 Southwest Regional, main customers on this account tend to be TJ Maxx and Tesla, make up about 40% of the business, with about 60% making up the other spots there. You're going to see a lot of stops in Laredo, San Antonio, Albuquerque, and Phoenix, where we happen to hire out of as well, averaging $1,200 to $1,400 a week. Really attractive running lane. From a weather standpoint, you get the benefits of the Southwest, where you're less likely to experience massive thunderstorms, not really going too far into the mountains, mainly seeing along I-10, I-40 goes across there, and a couple other major interstates. Hitting California, coming back down into Texas. So like I said, Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, and Laredo, we have current openings. Home weekly, all those locations have truck locations, so that if you have a personal vehicle, you can go ahead and spot it there. If you're out of San Antonio, Laredo, you'll do orientation in Laredo. If you're out of Albuquerque or Phoenix, you'll join us in El Paso at our corporate headquarters for our orientation on those. With that said, we have a lot of growth opportunities. So as I said that this week, the spot market looks pretty spotty at this moment. With that said, our highest volumes of freight right now continue to be out of Arizona and California, which are feeding this particular division and why we have it as a hot jobs. Division 210, you're going to come right out of the gates being busy with work to do. Vast majority of this freight in the Southwest U.S. is going to be 80% drop and hook. The other benefit of this particular division is we do about 500 loads a day that go across the border out of Laredo and El Paso. Feeds into this division a lot for that, as well out of Nogales, Arizona. So that cross-border freight ensures that this particular division for us always stays fairly busy.
I like this. I was telling Josue, with this, all of this highest 50-mile radius of Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, and Laredo. But what I want to say about this Phoenix right here, a lot of carriers are having trouble finding work out of Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you all, I got a couple divisions hiring out of Phoenix.
Yeah. That cross-border freight is what helps us out of that market.
Okay, so y'all know somebody that knows somebody. I love that. That's why we partner with you all, because y'all know people in high places. So this is excellent.
Yeah.
This is definitely excellent. So if you are living in Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, or Laredo, but I just want to shout out to the people in Phoenix, because you all are really hurting as far as being able to get home 5 to 7 days. A lot of the carriers are telling you guys 4, 5, 6 to 8 weeks out, because a lot of carriers are not having any work or consistent work out of that area. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, our benefit, like I said, that cross-border freight and more specifically contracted business.
Mm-hmm.
So this is business, like I said, TJ Maxx, Tesla, and then a lot of our cross-border freight, we're not relying on the broker boards, because I can tell you out of this particular region, if we were relying on the broker boards, this would be a sad tale.
Yeah.
We are very fortunate to have customers that have been with us multiple decades at this point, that are making up the majority of this business. And this is the advantage of contracted freight, is we have contracted amounts of freight, in said markets that will continue to keep our drivers busy in the Southwest.
Well, thank you for being in the people business, because it keeps us in the people business too.
Absolutely. Got to thank our customers, and as long as we keep winning awards, we'll get more opportunities like this.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Alex, or I forget, what's your name again?
Kayla Jennings.
Kayla Jennings. Okay.
Close enough.
Okay, so Division 329, our Texas division.
Absolutely. My favorite division, in all honesty. You get to stick to Texas, Southern Oklahoma, and occasionally we'll go into the southwest part of Louisiana. Our teams that run in this division will also make some runs out to El Paso, coming back into the Texas East Texas region. I promise you, English is not my second language. Averaging about $1,200 to $1,800 a week. That really depends on experience level. So if you have more than a year of experience, you're going to be closer to $1,800 a week. If you have under a year of experience, we will get you in as an opportunity to be hired out of here, but you'll be closer to that $1,200 until you reach that year of experience. Home weekly home time, running really one of the most attractive spots in the country that if you live in Texas, you should be familiar with all of these regions. We'll move a ton of drop and hook freight, a lot of southbound freight for Lowe's, Starbucks, IKEA, the Container Store going northbound, and Anheuser-Busch out of Houston. And again, those teams will run some freight there. Teams do well on this, and a lot of people are surprised to see teams for such a dedicated, small hiring radius and running area. But the teams are going to be operating at about 95% drop and hook. That's what keeps those teams busy in such a small geographic footprint. So again, if someone lives out of Houston, the DFW area, San Antonio, Laredo, really good opportunity for teams and or solo drivers. Your teams are going to be averaging close to about $4,000 a week as a collective team. Your solos are going to be at about $1,800 a week. A lot of drop and hook. Have opportunities for about 30 more drivers on this particular division at this moment. Again, DFW is a big market. We have a terminal in Hutchins, Texas, another drop yard over in Saginaw, Texas, on the other side of DFW. Houston location, San Antonio drop yard, and our second largest terminal is based out of Laredo. Most likely, if you're being hired for this division, you're going to be doing orientation in Laredo, Texas on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and heading out with a truck and getting ready to go.
Well, praise God for everything you just said. But I just want to point something out. When you say the teams with this small, well, teams are going all the way to El Paso, which is really New Mexico, because they are not us, we are not them. But then they go up to southern part of Oklahoma.
Good, yes.
And then a little bit of Louisiana.
Yep.
And then the rest of Texas. Texas itself, to be honest with you, is really like 3 states.
Oh, it's a big state.
Yeah.
So let me be clear. When I fly out of El Paso, it is closer and a shorter flight to LA than it is to Dallas.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a good chunk for a team.
The key thing with that team, where traditionally a team's going to want 1,000+ mile length of haul, the caveat to that is if a team can have constant drop and hook opportunities,
Absolutely.
they'll be able to make up that difference. And as the world moves away from these 1,000-mile length of hauls, because distribution centers are getting closer and closer together, drop and hook becomes the name of drop and hook and no touch becomes the game for teams in order to survive in that type of world and thrive.
Yeah, and they have to have closer distribution centers for people like me that expect their deliveries next.
Oh, absolutely. Amazon about 10 years ago had changed the game dramatically.
Yes.
Even though this process that started before that, they sped it up.
Yeah, because of me.
Because of you.
Yes, all of
The Camille factor.
Yeah, the Camille factor. We need to clone whatever that. You get the point.
Fair enough.
Okay, so this is my favorite division coming up, Kayla. Division 430, the I-10 division.
Yep. If you live in the Jacksonville metro area, you've talked to all the recruiters that try to get you to go up I-95 so you can play in Washington, D.C. and Philly and up in New York, or they try to send you to Atlanta and you get to play in the what I call the moving parking lot, which is I-285 around Atlanta. Mm-hmm. This gets you to avoid all that. You're going to stick to I-10 going from Jacksonville to Houston, Houston on to Laredo, and Laredo ultimately back to Jacksonville. Avoid looking at that line. We do not have our trucks cross the bridge over the Gulf of Mexico. It's just indicating you go back to Jacksonville. outside of hurricanes, once every 5 years, you don't really have the same weather interruptions that you do with other parts of the country. A lot less traffic, and as long as it's pre-planned out correctly on your loads, you should not be going through Houston during the rush hours, and you'll want to avoid that when possible. But that is the one spot on this. As I will tell anybody, this is the carefree division. This is the division that you literally get to show your expertise behind the wheel and not let Mother Nature determine your ultimate pay. At the end of the day, our drivers are averaging anywhere between $1,100 to $1,300 a week on this. Home every 5 days, running this loop. Really good account for us. Lowe's makes up about 60% of the freight on this particular division, which we're adding to that. We operate the Lowe's at the Valdosta, Georgia location, which plays into this, along with a number of other customers, almost a dozen other customers, to keep this moving forward. Opportunities right now for about 15 to 18 more drivers on this. Have a secure drop yard in Jacksonville. You can park your personal vehicle. This particular location, you'll most likely be doing orientation in Laredo, but depending on truck availability, we also may fly you out to El Paso. It gives us the opportunity to meet the Jacksonville drivers face to face, which tends to be more of a challenge for us with them further away from El Paso. So whenever we can route them through El Paso to at least have that conversation, we like to do so.
I like this division. I like this division a lot. I need to know how truck drivers are able to successfully, and I know it happens because they do it every day, how they're able to drive that. Vanna, you can take this down now. How you guys are able to successfully drive 285 in Atlanta. The highway lanes are so skinny. It's like you need a diet car, Fiat.
And what makes it challenging in Atlanta is unless you're making a delivery within city limits of Atlanta, you cannot go on 70 or 20 through town. You have to take 285 the Beltway around town. I know Swift has a terminal right there at the edge of town on 285 that the DOT sits there and just waits and writes tickets. Right hand, left hand, doesn't matter. They're going to write you a ticket as you go into the city limits. It makes 285 an absolute chore. In particular for truck drivers. You know, we talked a little bit earlier this week about the worst spots in the country for traffic. For trucks, it's a little bit of a different story, and 285 tends to fall on it for trucks because there's so many trucks operating. A ton of freight goes in and out of Atlanta to begin with, or Metro Atlanta, and when you add the truck congestion, it's just people going on busy corridors of I-20, you have I-75 that goes through out there, you have 85 starting up there going to the Northeast U.S., there's all sorts of traffic converging into one singular beltway. Unlike Houston, that has multiple beltways around the city, 285 is the lone beltway around Atlanta, and it just gets to be a mess. So the challenge for us is we used to have a much stronger footprint in Atlanta, and it's not to say that we'll never go back to Atlanta, but it's one of the things that has to be considered is if you're dealing with that traffic, does it pay enough to deal with it?
Yeah. It just, because I'm like, I'm in the car and I don't like to drive here. So how does a truck, a semi deal with this? It's nerve-wracking.
Extreme patience. But that's the other conversation that we've gotten into with some of our divisions of why they pay what they pay versus other divisions. And we use that when we bid freight out to customers is customers will have some wild requests, and technically anything can be done for the price. But our goal with the customers, we are not the cheap carrier. We will save a customer money in the long run, but it's normally by providing total logistics solutions. It's giving them the opportunity of, do you need help warehousing? Do you need help moving things from one shipper to another shipper? There's other ways that you can save a shipper money than just going, I'm going to move your freight from point A to point B as cheap as possible. And it's why our drivers get paid more, and we've not had to go back on pay over the last 2 years, which a number of carriers have. So it's one of the things that, we would go back into Atlanta, but it'd have to pay to justify it.
Well,
Hey, with that said, it reminds me, we got a whole bunch of other hiring locations as well. So we mentioned the hot jobs, but we also have a bunch of other opportunities. So like we talked about, we hire out of the markets of Portland, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, El Paso, Las Cruces, Albuquerque, Denver, St. Louis, Dallas-Fort Worth, Amarillo, Mount Vernon, Texas, Houston, San Antonio, Laredo. We hire out of Nashville. We hire out of Lexington and Louisville, Kentucky, as well as Jacksonville. And the fine folks here at Rig on Wheels hire from all 48 states for a number of other carriers. So if you call that number on your screen, 281-968-3100, hopefully I'll see you as a coworker at MVT very soon. But if you don't live in an area that we hire from, Nimmer and the team here with Camille are going to work real hard to place you with one of their 40 plus other clients.
Yes, definitely. So 281-968-3100, or you can go directly to the site, which is rigonwheels.com, and you click on the driver application and one of the recruiters will definitely give you a call. Let's go to commercial, and when we come back, or Kayla, do you have a question pertaining to jobs, or should we go to commercial first?
I don't have a question pertaining to specific jobs at this time.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go to commercial, and then we'll answer questions when we get back from commercial break.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
My name is Stacy Morton, and my position is OTR driver, and I've been with the company for 8 months. I enjoy being with part of the family because good miles, nice people, they listen to the drivers. The pay is excellent here at MVT. The home time is very good. You get to go home anytime you want. The dispatchers are really nice. They listen to the drivers, whatever you want. They will do their best to give you what you need. And the equipment is good, and safety is excellent. Yeah, they're fast, and the roadside is good. They listen to you, and they get the job fixed in a timely manner. Yeah, I would recommend other drivers to come to MVT because this is a good place to work, and you get excellent home time and everything that you need here.
All right, Kayla. I know, Kayla, you forget what your name is sometimes because I call you all type of things like Vanna and all this great stuff.
I'll answer to them all.
Oh, look at there. Okay, so we got question and answer time.
The first one is kind of funny, and I'm curious too. What's Camille's beef with El Paso?
They're not real Texas, you know. It's New Mexico. That's all. They're just over there. They're not even in the same time zone.
So in all fairness, Texas can be divided up into 5 areas. You have El Paso and Van Horn and West Texas, which is basically flat land. You have Houston, or as I like to call it, the carcinogen coast. You have DFW, you have the Republic of Boston, and then most people forget about the Panhandle, which I will too. So
yeah.
No, Texas is a great state all over. I love everybody in Texas, but people outside of Texas wouldn't realize it if you've never been to the state. Texas is a very diverse state. Yeah. Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth cannot be more different from each other. And I can tell you when the Cowboys won their Super Bowls in the early 90s, I had family that lived in Houston. And so we'd go, wow, the Cowboys are doing great. And they looked at me confused and go, we don't watch them. And I realized, oh, they're not in the same state. They just are on paper.
Exactly. So it's literally like that, I guess, is the best. They're they don't even have the same time zone. That's really
I will say this, we're on a different power grid, which a couple winters ago helped us out significantly.
That did help, yeah.
Oh,
I will point this out too.
We almost unlived. Remember that, Kayla?
Well, I was without power for over 81 hours, so I don't remember that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can tell you El Paso didn't experience any of it. I will say this now. I don't work for the El Paso Visitors Bureau, but what I will say is, if you're looking to relocate, in particular as a driver, your cost of living in El Paso is significantly less. It's the lowest cost of living in the state of Texas. A lot of freight opportunities, and as we continue to experience what's called near sourcing, where a lot of these products that were manufactured over the past 3 or 4 decades in China are now being relocated to places like Nuevo Laredo, Juarez. There's a lot of freight opportunities that are coming up in El Paso and Laredo now, as well as the next decade, that you'll see continued growth out of those 2 markets in particular. We focused a lot in Houston and Dallas and Austin, growing exponentially over the past decade. But Laredo and El Paso are probably going to give them a run for their money over the next decade in terms of growth. So it's a nice place to live, though. A lot of freight opportunities. And in particular, in our fleet, if someone lives in El Paso, we have so many freight opportunities out of there that there's additional things that we do that we don't necessarily sell on this show. So as an example, I have 5 drivers that happen to have a passport. Because of our relationships with these customers over decades, they happen to have passports. We end up having them on runs that go up to Toronto, to Montreal, where these folks are making $1,800 to $2,000 a week because they've taken that extra step of getting their passport, which has created that opportunity. So if you live along the border in Laredo or El Paso, having hazmat or having a passport may not be the job you get into now, but it creates opportunities for you in the future.
Well, something else that's great about working for MVT, and I want all of Rig on Wheels recruiters not to listen to this, but let's talk about the health benefits and how you can go across the border as well.
Yeah, and this is the first company I've worked with where our health insurance is also accepted. We have Mexican health insurance, so we can go down to Juarez and get medical care. There's a lot of U.S. doctors that have set up shop down in Juarez. I live by one in El Paso. He has a full thing. He does basically plastic surgery down there, so I've been fortunate not had to visit him. But with that said, it's kind of a unique thing that if you live there. Now, for our driver based in Nashville, that may not have the same level of value. But if you live in Laredo, if you live in El Paso, and we've had people, I have a couple of recruiters that have gone across the border to get their medical care. It's a fraction of the price. They end up spending a whole lot less money. And quite frankly, it's good level of care. Like, they come back and they're not coming back across the border with a third arm.
Well, depending on what it is, if you do live in Nashville, it really doesn't matter, especially when you're talking about certain things like plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery is the better word for it, and things like that at a fraction of the cost.
The nice thing with all of our markets, though, is our health insurance is widely accepted. So when I've had family, or we've been in other spots of the country and we've had to go to a hospital, we didn't have some fly-by-night insurance to where we had to go to some free clinic to get checked out. It's widely accepted in all of the markets that we operate in. So it becomes very important, especially for people that have a family. When it's an individual, it's kind of nice, but I got 5 kids. So that health insurance part of the package, my health insurance is the exact same health insurance that a driver has. It's widely accepted. There's 3 or 4 various options on it. I'm not an expert on health insurance, but I can tell you that our packages are designed so if you're a single person, if you're a couple, or you have a large family, you have options that are realistically within your budget.
I love it. I definitely love it. Kayla, what's your next question? That was a good question, Kayla, and it went into a lot of different things.
I learned a lot. Yeah. Next question. Do you have any tips for Operation Safe Driver Week next week?
Well, let me do a quick search here real quick. That was a very specific question.
Yeah, that was very specific. And with the Faces of the Road calendar, it is on there for Operations Safe Week is on the calendar.
All right, so let me, just for the larger audience, because this is kind of specific, the Operation Safe Driver program holds an annual 1-week enforcement and educational campaign, Operation Safe Driver Week, that targets unsafe driving behaviors by passenger vehicle drivers and commercial drivers, educates youth about safety sharing the roads with large trucks and buses, offers commercial driver educational and awareness programs to the motor carrier population, increases awareness to the general motoring public about safe operations around commercial motor vehicles, aims to improve commercial motor driver regulatory compliance, conducts passenger vehicle and commercial motor vehicle enforcement initiatives. So my advice on it is, like you do this week and the week after that week, is operate safely. What I will say here is the little things that matter. A pre-trip inspection, making sure that you pre-plan, being accountable for any weight fluctuations or disruptions in your trailer, understanding basically how to be a professional on the road. One of the things I will tell you is it's good to be aware of these programs, but on the flip side of it, it should be a 52-week-a-year assignment as a professional driver over the road, that you need to be focused on being a professional on the road. The nice thing with something like this is it does put some more focus on it and reminds us to do it, but this is a 52-week-a-year job.
Yeah.
We need to be focused on it entirely and completely. Biggest thing I see going down the road when I do drive, though, is you can tell very quickly that somebody's not done a pre-trip inspection. It gets very easily overlooked, and I understand it. It takes 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what trailer you're using. Flatbedders, it may take a little bit longer because of some of the straps and tarps that they have to check on. But generally speaking, taking that 15 minutes and doing it often when you get stopped, if you're getting fuel, it's a great chance to do another pre-trip inspection. Taking the time to do a pre-trip inspection is probably the number one thing you can do to avoid most of the issues you'll get into as it relates to being compliant.
I do agree. It's something that we as an industry and the drivers more specific has to do this week, next week, and all the weeks after that. But I do like the fact this brings awareness. It's a time where everybody has to stop. We see it all on social. Pamphlets are being reminded there in the truck stops, or should be, in your good truck stops. So everybody is actually reminded of being a safe driver and what it takes to be a safe driver. But remember that all of these reminders is what makes up a professional driver.
No, I will also share with anybody, if you ever want to look up those initiatives as well as other information on that, cvsa.org is the website where you can generally find that information at. They do a lot in cooperation with the FMCSA, or Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, administration, excuse me, not association. We have too many acronyms at this point. But if you go to cvsa.org, you can generally keep up on a lot of this information. And of course, we have a calendar that also gives pretty cool dates on it to help us with that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Kayla, any more questions before I say something?
No more questions, but we did have a shout out on YouTube from Uno. He says, "Wow, that lady on the right is gorgeous."
Oh, you're right. Sorry, you're right.
Oh, thank you. I was like, the wrong way. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm having a less than gorgeous day, but I really appreciate it anyway. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and go to commercial, and then we come back, and I want to talk about the leaderboard. Let's go to commercial with Carlos, the very handsome guy where he wins the car and all that good stuff. And I can't wait to the next quarter, where the next maybe it'll be another team that wins a car. I like when teams win
Me
cars.
too. Me too.
Yeah. Because they just, all the drivers work hard, but I just feel like the teams, they just really, to have to be in the truck with somebody, it just, I just really love it. So go ahead, if you can, Kayla, just go to commercial with the handsome fella talking about winning the car, so we can talk about that leaderboard.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio de Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MVT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con el despacho es muy buena y todo eso, y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que están muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente, excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los empleadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y pues, para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
We are back. We are back. We are literally about to. Well, Pearson is about to tell you about the guy that won the last car. He wasn't a team, but he won this last car. And
Yep. Every quarter we get to give away a brand new car for whoever has the best fuel economy. Last quarter, the winner was a gentleman named Anthony Rios, been with us a while, real professional on the road, averaging 12.6 miles a gallon. We keep setting records on that end. The driver is what makes the difference as far as our fuel economy in the industry, along with a number of other steps that we make. But the driver is the difference. So what we like to do is reward those that reward us with great fuel economy. In an industry that's averaging 6.5 miles a gallon, we average about 9.5. So we do that a few ways. One, once you start getting above 9 miles a gallon, which more than 50% of our fleet currently does right now on the road, you can get anywhere between 1 to 4 cents bonus per mile on just your MPG bonuses alone. Over the course of the year, that makes up a bunch of money. That's paid monthly, so you're not having to wait on it. We do that productivity bonus, that monthly, quarterly, or monthly bonus for MPGs every single month. So if you don't hit it one month, though, you can hit it the next. Additionally, whoever has the best fuel economy for the quarter is going to get a brand new car. Right now, it's a 2023 Nissan Sinatra. That's not right. What is it? Sentra. I want to say Sinatra, but that's Frank Sinatra, and he's got nothing to do with trucking.
no,
At least
we don't know.
now. Well, we don't know. Maybe he did. With that said, it's a 2023 Nissan Sentra. It's a great vehicle, low mileage because it's brand new. The last one we gave away literally had 20 miles on it. So it's a brand new vehicle. With that said, every quarter we do that. If you want to know where you are on the leaderboard, you can go into any of our terminals, and every Monday it's updated and see exactly where you rank versus your peers. Additionally, on the in-cab communication system, scientific platform, you're able to go in there and easily, quickly see where you rank versus your peers on that MPG bonus. We have people that will work with you on it, so you're not alone in this battle to get that $25,000 car. You're also able to go ahead and work with your fleet manager and an entire department of people called driver services that work on your career development goals, including how to get you that MPG bonus. And then whoever gets the best MPG for the year ends up getting a $25,000 bonus that we end up giving away. We have a gentleman that's won that 5 times in his career with MVT named Roberto Sandoval. He's also referred to us about 12 drivers at this point. So he's a great source of referrals, and 2 of his referrals have gotten that quarterly bonus. So, like father, like son in one case. So with that said, if you join us here, we take MPGs real seriously. As I would point out, once you get the truck, once you get the customer, and you have the freight lined up, there's only 2 ways to save money in this industry. You can either be a cheapskate with the driver and start cheating them on pay, or you got to get serious about cheating ConocoPhillips or any of the oil companies on their business so that you can save money. So the key caveat here is we want to give our drivers as much money as possible, yet still running profitably and efficiently, and we do that through MPG bonuses and ultimately paying our drivers for the professionalism on the road.
Exactly. Let me tell you how I tried to trick Josue just to make sure that the pictures we saw on social media, because sometimes social media could be tricky.
Yes.
But just to make sure that what we are seeing on social media was the truth. I know that Josue, which is my favorite internal recruiter, I'm partial because he's the one that does our application, so we got to keep him happy. But I know that this is his first job as an internal recruiter, so he doesn't have anything to compare it to, so he doesn't know. But with saying that, I said, does last week I said, when you have the driver appreciations and things like that, are you there? And he said, yeah. I said, do drivers come? And he was like, yeah, they have on the vest, so we're able to identify them so we can give them their proper due and all of that. And he was telling me about the food and everything. But my thing is, I want to make sure the drivers were actually there. And I said, Josue, do you know that at some carriers, when there's driver appreciation, which actually only happens one time a week, one time a year. He was like, really? I said, do you know that at some carriers the drivers are not there? It's just the people in the office. He said, then why is it driver appreciation week?
That is a fair question.
Yes.
I can tell you that I consulted at a company that will go unnamed for the purpose of not getting in trouble. I was consulting for a company that was having a driver appreciation, and they had a nice spread of food laid out on the operations floor. I didn't see any drivers, and I look, and there were a couple drivers that were on the other side of glass handing in paperwork through a little hole. So the driver appreciation event was the driver getting to look through glass at other people eating to celebrate driver appreciation. And I can remember to this day, it stands out like a sore thumb of this is pathetic. This is like, it is more insulting to celebrate driver appreciation and the driver not having an invitation to the event.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of like when I'm celebrating my son's birthday and he's not there, which I will be, and he's not invited, but his son is invited. My grandson is going to be us. But I was literally doing that, and Josue was like, well, what do you mean? Because I knew he didn't have anything to compare it to, but he was like, no, so those pictures are real. So I just wanted to let you know that I did do that.
Yeah, part of why we do it quarterly is we have the luxury with our engineered lanes. The vast majority of our lanes will go through a terminal. So we get to see our drivers more routinely than a lot of OTR carriers do because they are physically going to go through our terminal. It also helps us inspect the equipment to make sure equipment's up to snuff, above and beyond just doing PMs and general maintenance. The benefit of doing it quarterly is most companies do it in September, and I'm glad they do it as an industry in September. It's cool that we do it because everybody should do it. But quarterly allows us to see a lot more faces that just may happen that their engineered lane doesn't get them through at the right date. So we hold it in Denver, we hold it in El Paso, we hold it now in Dallas or Hutchins, Texas. We hold it in Laredo and Houston and Nashville. Not Houston, Houston's coming, but I wasn't supposed to share that yet. So we hold it in a bunch of locations.
See, I told y'all we get to know stuff, and I wasn't even coaching him to try to get the good.
It allows us, though, the ability to go ahead and have that face-to-face interaction that becomes important.
Look at there. Look at what we get. See, number Raven, we get it all right here.
Camille will be closing out the rest of the show. I'm no longer allowed to speak.
But since we are coming to an end, what I really want you all to do is follow us so you can be able to see all of our short clips, see the replays of what we do. Of course, we're on YouTube at Rig on Wheels. But if you are a TikTok fanatic, like I know everybody is, we're on TikTok as well. So definitely follow us there. We are on Twitter, or if you are Elon Musk fanatic, then it's called X. We are we're on everything actually, but we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we are on Facebook. I believe I have covered them all.
I think so as well. The big thing here, actively participate with us. So if you're looking for a job currently, or you might be in the future, subscribe, hit the like button on this video, or whatever other form that you want to do to engage with us. The other part is if you have questions, comments, or concerns, leave them for us. We might not talk about it this particular episode, but any questions Kayla will share with us, and we'll be happy to answer. No questions technically off limits, but please don't test that policy. With that said, let's keep moving forward and be safe out there. Enjoy the 4th of July.
The last one I forgot to say is go to the website at rigonwheels.com and go ahead and subscribe so you can get all of our blogs. We do that bi-weekly, and give us a call at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, and go to the website to subscribe there to get the blogs, which is at rigonwheels.com. Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Have a safe, clean 4th of July. Bye-bye.